Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope all of you are fine and having good health. Today we have the topic is the type of intermolecular forces. So we know what does mean by the intermolecular forces. The force that is going to be held between the molecules is known as the intermolecular force or the intermolecular forces. We have its the number one type that is dipole dipole interactions. So as the name is going to be show the dipole-dipole forces or the dipole-dipole interactions means these forces will be exist between the molecules that are formed from the polar molecules. So polar molecules means they have different electronegativities and there will be the formation of the two poles. The one end will be positive and the other end will be negative. So the polar molecules have two ends, the positive and the negative end, and the force of attraction will be held between these two atoms, and these forces may be known as the dipole-dipole interactions. Now, the polar molecules, for example, we have HCl, number one, and the second we have ammonia, NH3. Third one, we have water molecule, H2O. We have H2S, hydrogen sulfide. So all these molecules are the non-polar compounds or the non-polar molecules. And there is attraction created between the positive and the negative end. So by definition, dipole interactions we have in simple words the attractive forces between the positive pole of one molecule and the negative pole of other molecule. These positive and the negative poles will attract each other and they will create a force. That force is known as simple dipole-dipole interactions. So dipole-dipole means the two poles, di mean two and the pole mean two poles. The one will be positive and the other will be negative. So the force of attraction will be created between them and this force is known as the dipole-dipole interactions. This force basically is due to the difference of the electronegativity, due to the electronegativity difference between the molecules, atoms of the molecules. So the two poles has been created and the electronegativity difference always exists between the polar molecules, the molecules that have polar covalent bond. Polar covalent bond, they are known as polar molecules and they have two poles. The one end is having partial positive and the other end is having partial negative end. As we have partial negative end. So the force of attraction will be created between them. Let's discuss is one example in detail. So dipole-dipole attraction between the neighboring polar molecules, how it is created. We have the one molecule here, it is HCl, the other is also HCl, and the second is also third one is HCl. Hydrogen is having partial positive charge and the chlorine is having partial negative charge. Let's draw it here. For example, we have the hydrogen and we have the chlorine. Next we have again hydrogen and we have the chlorine. Next we have hydrogen and we have the chlorine. Here hydrogen is having partial positive charge and the chlorine is having partial negative charge. Now, this hydrochloric acid is molecule number 1, this is the molecule number 2, and this is the molecular number 3. The molecule number 1, its negative end is the chlorine. It will attract the hydrogen that is partial positive, and also attracts the other hydrogen of the molecule number 3. Likewise, the number 2 molecule will also attract its chlorine, and here there is a formation of the, see, a simple pool of attraction between the two different ends. The one end is positive and the other end is negative. So it will attract the positive part of the one molecule and the negative part of an other molecule. In turn, there is force of attraction created between the atoms. This is known as the dipole-dipole interactions. So when we're going to talk about the strength of the dipole-dipole interaction between the HCl, so this is very weak force, and to break this force of attraction between the two HCl molecules we require just 3.3 kilojoule per mole of energy to break that bond. So as we require just a 3.3 kilojoule per mole of energy to remove this attraction, so the small molecule of HCl is just started to boil at the temperature minus 35 degrees Celsius. So the HCl will be started to boil at this temperature because the force of attraction between the HCl molecule it is very weak. So dipole-dipole interactions are weaker forces. They are just formed due to the two different poles of the polar molecules where the one is positive and the other we have it is negative. So this is a simple example of the dipole-dipole interactions, and they exist between the polar molecules and they are very weak forces. So this is all about our today's lecture. I hope you guys understand, and if you have any queries you may ask me about that in the comment section and I will get back to you guys soon. And the next topic we have is the second type of intermolecular forces, that is hydrogen bonding. It is very interesting topic. So we will discuss it in the next video. For that time, have a good day and Allah Hafiz.